The Trinity Force Network is proudly sponsored by Gatherer's Gourmet Granola. Granola for people with taste buds. If you're bored with your normal granola and want to try something that won't put your taste buds to sleep, pick up a pack of Gatherer's famous Turtle Tracks on Amazon. Turtle Tracks tickles your mouth with real pecans, dark chocolate, and cranberry. If chocolate isn't your thing, you can always pick up a pack of Bee's Knees with honey, pistachio, and walnut, or one of 4 other specialty flavors. To order, visit bit.ly/tforcegg and use offer code TForceGG for 10% off your Amazon order.
Gonna rock it now, gonna rock it now, by Jackson Aurelia, Jackson Aurelia, gonna rock it now, gonna rock it now, rock it, Jackson Aurelia, T-Force.
Welcome to the rework of the T-Force, now we going hard, cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews, and cash from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're leaning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like brand, practicing his dot game, give it to you easy like you're Resi in the bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like now fight planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and you are listening to the Trinity Force Trinity Force proper part of the Trinity Force Network. You should have heard me doing the Gatherer's plug before this. I was trying to say pistachios and what did I say? Like, it was a tongue twister. Turtle Tracks stimulates the taste buds. Made me go like 6 times.
It happens to me every day. I don't know why I'm podcasting. I can't speak English.
Yes, guys, you're listening to the Trinity Force Networks, or excuse me, Trinity Force Popper, part of the Trinity Force Network. I'm going to continue to say Popper instead of Proper tonight because I cannot talk. Again, my name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. I am the host. I am joined by 3 of my hosts. The 5th one is not here tonight. He has to run off and do things. So DeClawd is here.
Howdy.
Daze is here.
Hey.
Punch is here.
Hey, everybody.
And that's it, guys. If you want to go check out, please go look at the Abyssal podcast, the LCS Rundown, the 4 Wards guys, the Battle Arena. You guys can go check out every piece of the network over at TrinityForceNetwork.com. Thank you so much for listening. So first, we're going to talk some very quick news, which I had a bunch of it, and I don't remember any of it. So that was the quick news. Here we go.
News is over. All right. That was the best news segment ever.
Yeah, that pretty much is it. I am completely disorganized. It would be the episode that it happens on, but you know what? It is what it is. We're going to move forward. Yes, up at DeClawd looks like he was like chewing in it, like ready to talk.
Yeah. I was gonna say that the Champion Select episode's done, I believe.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That is good news.
Everyone should be getting it.
They've got it.
They got the link already, so give her a listen.
Yep.
And let us, if you have feedback, let us know.
That's right. This month was Morgana and Nunu. By the time you listen to this podcast, you will have not had time to sign up for our Patreon to get those, so you will miss out on the July and June's if you're not already taken care of. However, if you do get in here for July, you will get June's episodes, and then it will always go like that. You'll always get the months past. So if in a year you sign up for $10, you're going to get a year's worth of episodes. Now, probably at that point, we're going to start retiring old episodes and only have the people who were subscribed get those. Maybe you can pay like a price. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when the year comes. But for now, just get in there and get those episodes. You just can. They've been great. We've had, a Master Levels Nunu and a Challenger level Morgana on.
Yeah. And they were both great. The episodes are awesome. Thanks to all of your feedback. The episodes have just been getting better and better in terms of like the format and the information that we get. I think we literally ran out of questions to ask him about Nunu last episode. So it's great. It's really amazing to be a part of. And we have a really, really great ADC lined up. Mm-hmm. So we're pretty excited about that. And we'll give you more details when that comes closer. And yeah, just overall, it's been a lot of fun.
So patreon.com/TForce Network. If you want to do that for $10 a month, you get access to the Champion Select podcast. We'll have a list somewhere exactly what they are and who they had for guests on. So if you decide you want to come back in, you can be like, oh, I really want to get in on this now. I really want to pay the price. So that's it. That's the entrance. So that's the bar, $10 a month. Other than that, we're gonna move right in, I guess, into League of Legends discussion because for some unknown reason, I don't have any more announcements to take up 15 minutes of your time.
Have you retired announcing your announcements for good this time?
No, because I announced an announcement this morning.
Yeah.
On Twitter.
So we need to have an intervention because
we'll see what happens.
3 days. He went 3 days without.
You have a problem.
By the way, what we're going to talk about today, I just realized your name, Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, is APC, which stands for Armored Personnel Carrier. So if Tahm Kench carries an armored ally, is he an APC?
How long have you been How long have you been cooking that one up?
I just thought about it now. I heard you do your intro. I'm like, wait a minute. Tahm Kench is one of those.
Man, DeClawd.
We're going to talk about the Catfish Man.
I think it's time to stop downloading all those torrents, DeClawd. I know you really want to watch Game of Thrones Season 5, but you should have picked it up on HBO. Just like you guys need to go on the PBE and pay your entrance fee to get into that as well. So we're going to talk about Tahm Kench tonight.
Am I chopping up or something?
Oh, yeah. Of course you are. You did the entire intro. It could be me. Apparently Kentucky's got like a tornado.
It's not you. I think it's me.
Some bullshit going on. I don't know.
I heard it too.
Oh, on me or Adam?
You.
Okay, because I heard on everybody, so I figured it was me.
Awesome episode. Let's move in. All right, so Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench is the new champion that is on the PBE. I have only been able to look at him on paper. I haven't seen him play yet. I'm really good out there. Have you guys seen him play? Any streams? Have you been able to play him yet?
I haven't played him yet. I saw a little bit of him being played, but not a lot. I'll probably play him this weekend or maybe tomorrow, depending on how much time I have.
Yeah, I really wish I would have had a chance to play him, but I also wanted to talk about him quite a bit because I think there's a lot of people who want to hear our opinions on how Tahm Kench is going to be played. So, do we need to run through all of his abilities do, or do you think people at this point already
I think
know?
we do. I don't think we need to go into huge detail in the numbers because this is still PvE and this is still volatile. But we can explain, what his abilities do. I think there's a lot of theory crafting that we can do with that.
Yeah, fair enough. So right now, he is another one of those champions that works around his passive. That kind of seems like Riot's...
Their new hobby?
I don't know what the word... They're levers and triggers and buttons that they want to put into a character so they can pull and push and prod all they want.
Fetish, maybe?
Something, yeah. That and move speed. Like, the new Banner Command... Not Banner Command. Stark's Herald.
Zeke's Herald?
Zeke's Herald, thank you.
You're thinking of Stark's Fervor. Just cross them up.
I am not in it tonight at all. My God, this is such a bad episode. All right, I give up already.
We'll just have, we're just going to punch translate for you the entire episode. It's cool.
Oh, man, if I'm translating, we got a problem.
Okay, so Tahm Kench right now, he's being touted as a support, but he's got his passive, which is basic attacks and damaging spells apply stacks of an acquired taste to enemy champions. At 3 stacks, Tongue, Lash, and Devour become empowered against that champion. So his Q and W both become empowered when he uses it at 3 stacks. Now, keep in mind that Tahm Kench is essentially melee, but I think he has just a little bit longer than melee range. I don't actually have the range in front of me.
Wait, what, for his auto attack?
Yeah, he's 200.
Right. 200. He has the
250.
longest auto attack range out of any melee in the game right now. It's equivalent of, like, Riven with her ult on.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty long. If you watch the video, it's like, wow, that's pretty impressive, actually.
It's still going to be really difficult for him to get 3.
Arms.
It will, but it'll be significantly easier than if you were saying Braum trying to get his 3 off.
Right.
Although you don't have an ADC to help. But
he can also use damaging spells, which would be his Q, and I believe he spits out a minion with his W as well.
Right. Yeah, Tongue Lash's Q is on a 6-second cooldown, and if he smacks him with the Q, he has to stand in place to cast it when he does it. Can we stop typing? Because I can't read those. When he has to stand in place to cast it, so he takes a moment, he winds up, and he shoots it out. It's brief. I think it's shorter than actually a Thresh Q. And if he hits somebody with it, he slows him by 20%. Champions with 3 stacks of an acquired taste will additionally be stunned for 1.1 second. And if you activate W mid-air, if they have 3 stacks on them, Devour pulls and eats the target.
Now, that's something I didn't know when they first talked about him.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't remember them showing that in the preview. Or the reveal. What's the proper word for it? Which seems like a big
monsters,
deal.
Minions. Only.
Still a big deal, I think. Because
Yeah.
you can tongue lash a monster or a minion from far away and then shoot it out.
Yeah, you can grab something, pull it to you, and shoot it at somebody.
it helps a lot with harass and lane, because anyone who's ever played a melee support and gone and tried to get your stacks off of your Targons knows that as soon as you walk up to a minion line, you're going to get smacked by like 8 things. So this will help you a little bit to be able to pull someone in, and then you can throw them out and try to attack somebody with it and have a little bit more poke than you would otherwise.
Yeah, I do think this is going to be a very important ability for him. Not only as a support, but as the top lane. It seems like his main point of harass, because it doesn't seem like, we'll talk about W later, because W has multiple uses. And although you could use that for poke as well, it seems like in certain scenarios, if you put that on cooldown, it'll be detrimental to you. So it seems like Q would be your primary focus for harassment and lane control.
Yeah, that seems like to be the problem with W, is the cooldown on it, because while it gets significantly lower, by the time that it is a 12-second cooldown, you would have wanted that 12 seconds earlier in the game because you want to be able to harass with it more often and do the damage. But I've also seen it does a percentage. So I'll read it. Sorry, let me just read it. Right now it has a 20, 18, 16, 14, 12-second cooldown as you max it. Keep in mind that Q has a static 6-second cooldown as well. That doesn't go down unless we have cooldown reduction. It devours a target for 4 up to 6 seconds, half that for enemy champions. Enemies are dealt 20 to up to 32% of their maximum health as magic damage.
Yeesh.
But they require 3 stacks of Acquired Taste to be devoured. And Tahm Kench, when he eats somebody, is slowed by 95% while holding an enemy champion. He can also use this to eat enemy allied champions, and Kench gains movement speed up to 50% toward enemy champions while holding an allied champion. Minions and monsters, if he eats one, he can reactivate it to spit it at him from 100 to 300 damage to the target it hits. So he has 3 abilities he can do with that. He can either enemy after 3 stacks of his passive, he can eat an allied at any point in time, or he can eat a minion and shoot it at somebody.
Yeah, so 3 very strong uses on relatively long cooldown for an ability.
How long can he hold them in his mouth?
4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6. Half that for enemy champions.
That's a long time to hold an enemy champion.
Oh, yeah.
3
3 whole
seconds
seconds of CC. Okay. Wow.
And,
And 32%? You pick up a tank, 32% of their maximum health? Wow.
Now, so unlike Skarner's ultimate, the enemy champion cannot be targeted while they're in his mouth.
For all intents and purposes, it's just stasis.
Yeah.
They can't. You can't QSS it. You can't cleanse it. You can't get out of it unless he spits you out.
But the important thing is that you can move them, and your enemy team can deal with them when you get them there. Like that's pretty huge. Like in a lot of other things, when you stun them or like you do stasis with Bard, they're just kind of there. You're just kind of looking at them like, okay, are they done yet? Are you done? Like now you can be like, oh, here, welcome to my turret.
Well,
Enjoy.
Yeah, more than less, you can at least turn them around and spin them back at the turret because you are 95% slow. You only move at 5% of your normal move speed.
And they did mention, I think, a lot of movement abilities like Thresh's Lantern are disabled while you're holding an enemy champion. Which is a bummer.
That's disabled. I believe Flash is disabled as well.
Yes.
And teleport.
Yeah, so there's a lot of that trolley stuff you could do. It's no longer a thing.
Which makes sense since it's a 3-second stasis. So they kind of cut that stuff out or else.
Long enough. Yeah.
But if you think about like getting rid of an enemy for 3 seconds in a team fight to just pretend they're not there, you essentially get like a 4v5 for that. Well, it's a 4v4, but you're support. I mean,
yeah, we really should say 2 seconds because it does start at 4 and it's half that for enemy champions. So, for most of the laning phase, it's going to be 4 to 2.5 seconds.
right?
And this stresses the importance of getting that 3 stacks on your target, though. Now, wasn't it more than 3 stacks at the start when they first revealed them? I thought it was more than 3 stacks.
No, it's always been 4.
It's always been 3? Okay, never mind. Still, I mean,
And
you're
if you
not
think
eating them as soon as
about-
the fight starts. You've got to get those stacks on the target that you want,
right.
and then, chew them up.
But if you think about him, like, you being able to save your 80 carry for 6 seconds and gain an extra 10% move speed to get them out of the way, and they're untargetable that whole time, that's like Janna on troll level. Like, when you get someone really close to dying and the Janna ults you all away. Like, this is, like, crazy in terms of, like, the ability to get rid of, help your teammate and move them around the map.
What's nice is that if you get eaten by it and you are an allied champion, you can pop yourself out of it. You don't have to wait for him to pop you out. So that removes another trolley aspect of it. Now, you can get picked up and be in there. You'll probably be in there for a second or half a second at most. But, well, what is it, 1.5 seconds? That's global cooldown, right?
Yeah.
Does that apply to the person that's getting eaten, though?
The
I
person
guess that's something we'll have to find out.
The person who was eaten, an allied champion that was eaten, that person can activate their abilities to jump out of his mouth.
Right.
Right.
Or
But do they have to
you
wait
can
for the double
reactivate it. You don't have to wait for the whole duration.
What are you asking, Punch? What's the...
I was just wondering if they had to wait for the global cooldown.
Oh, before they have to jump out. I'm sure there's
Right.
a cast animation, which essentially makes up for the global cooldown.
Yeah, probably. We'll find out when we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. This is, in my perspective, this is support's answer to Callista. So all those supports that are like about to ult someone or about to CC, and Callista like pulls them back, and you're like, no. For all this is like the support's answer. Like you're about to kill someone, the support, and then you just eat him up.
It is important to note that if there's an enemy inside him, he turns red, and if there's an ally inside him, he turns blue.
So you can tell what he's got. If you're really quick, I can see some pros gobbling Tibbers as soon as he's cast and then spitting them away. I wonder, things like that. If it would still do the damage, probably. But
An enemy tippers?
yeah,
Okay, again, I'm
And
thinking of
then
the 3 stacks
tippers.
thing. I'm wondering how quickly you can get those stacks off.
You don't need 3
With
stacks.
the
well,
You
it's a
need to grab
it's
it.
a minion or a monster.
Oh,
it's
that's right,
It's a
that's
pet.
right.
It's only
What
enemy
is it?
champions.
What is Tibbers considered? A minion?
Yeah, is he a
Monster?
minion?
It's probably considered border.
Can't you smite him?
He's one of them. You can, yes.
You
And
can
he's a
smite.
Yeah.
monster.
And I have. Okay.
Oh, and you can smite minions too.
Oh, fair enough, yeah. I don't think it's...
He's one of them. He's one of those.
I don't... Nah, he'd be coded
Either
as a
way.
minion. He'd be coded as a minion rather than a monster, I would think.
Eating a hot tamale there. But,
But either way, they don't need to.
Yeah.
I don't think they need the stacks for you to devour
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't. The only time you have to stack is if you're eating enemy champion. Let's talk about Thick Skin, which is his E. It is on a 16 to 12 second cooldown. 12 is at max rank. Passive, damage taken while the spell is not cooling down is converted to gray health. If allowed to decay, 20 to 44% of gray health will turn back into raw health, base health,
Or just heal
green
him.
health.
Oh.
It'll heal him. So
He'll heal him,
he'll return if he maxes it. He return 50% of the damage he dealt, assuming that he gets a moment to, assuming that it's allowed to decay. Active, convert all your gray health into a shield that lasts 6 seconds but falls off gradually over the time. So if you take 3/4 of your life in gray health, press it, you now have 3/4 shield. You now have essentially doubled your
Right.
life.
if you're going to get burst, it's good. But for prolonged damage, it'll just fade away. Kind of thing.
Right.
I'm assuming once that shield wears off, you can no longer heal your health afterwards.
Right. It's an
You have
either
to
or
choose what you
situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Converts to gray health. Yep.
And finally, he has Abyssal Voyage, which has a range initially of 4,000, and it goes to the 6,000. Now, to give you an idea of what 4,000 is, just on the other side, if you were blue side red camp in the bush, you could go to red side red camp in the bush. That is 4,000 units. Does that give you guys an
Wow.
idea of range?
It's pretty damn good
You
range.
can go from one red camp to another red camp on the very first level of that.
One parallel jungle to the other.
Right. Which,
Nocturne's jealous.
yeah, Nocturne says, I fucking hate
Yeah,
you.
really. It's like, what the hell, man?
Nocturne can go like in his jungle. It is a 190, 145, 100 second cooldown, costs 100 mana, so it does cost mana. The way that it works is that, well, first and foremost, he gains a passive on it. Basic attacks and damaging spells deal an additional 10 plus 10 plus 4% of Tahm Kench's bonus health as magic damage. It's pretty big there if you're building bonus health at all. And then when you activate it, you begin to channel for up to 15 seconds. During this time, one ally champion can right-click Tahm Kench to join in. Alternatively, reactivate this ability to travel alone. Once you reactivate, or once an ally has opted in, you go to the target location. Incoming champion damage breaks the channel.
Okay.
So as reference for the range of this, TF's range on his ult is 5,500. So you start out with significantly less, and then you actually end up with longer range than TF does by
Yep.
end game.
By 500 units.
Right.
That's pretty
me,
cool,
this-
but damage breaks it. Incoming champion damage. Okay, so not minion damage, thank God.
See, yeah, you
All
can't
right.
use it to escape, essentially.
Right. Well, you can. You can. You just can't use it to make an enemy escape, because you can reactivate it right away, or whatever the global cooldown is, and you're out of there. But if you're waiting for your ally and he's taking too long, come on, I'm going to get hit.
I believe there's an animation that he has to go through. He has to channel a certain amount of the animation for him to go through too, doesn't he?
Yeah, there's an animation.
That was
for
my
both.
impression.
There's an animation to jump in. There's an animation to move.
So he can't immediately reactivate.
Yeah, it's not like TF where you disappear.
I feel like this is going to be really important for him to... I don't know what the right word I'm looking for is, but if he's being played as a tank in the top lane, I guess this is his initiation. But if he uses it by himself, he doesn't really put the enemy team at a disadvantage, right? He kind of puts his team more so at a disadvantage because he's splitting, unless he carries an initiator with him, which I think is the great potential here, right? If he ults behind the enemy team and he's alone, well, if he ults too far, the enemy team can just turn around and kill him by himself, and then, all right, it's 45. If he's got a Sejuani with him, then, you know, that changes things a lot.
Well, with most, like, if you do that with a TF or a Pantheon, like, if you ult in the wrong spot, you're dead anyway, if your team can't catch you. At least this way, like you said, you do have the potential to bring someone with you.
I think from what I've read with this as well, there's a pretty, I won't say significant, but there's definitely a visual effect that appears underneath of you before you pop up, and you have time to react to the ability and you shooting across the map. So you can get out of the way, but even if you take like a Sejuani with you, you're going to knock people up and you're going to smack them.
Is there a global audio effect, like with Scion and Rek'Sai, etc.?
I'm not actually sure, to be honest
I would assume so. Most of these have a global queue of some sort.
They've been working on that, yeah.
Like TF's got that indicator above everyone's head when he activates his.
Now, do you think with a champion like this that you'd want to run? Well, let's talk about abilities and how he's being played right now, where we think he's going to end up. Because I've looked at him as a support role, and I really don't think he's going to end up in the support role, at least starting out. Just because he seems like he would lose lane really hard. Without having to get into 200 range to auto attack anything, you should take harass from the enemy AD carry, and you should take some kind of harass from the enemy support.
Well, I think that depends. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say I think that depends on whether or not he needs W in order to win a trade. And by W I mean W in the enemy champion or his own, because I think he can use Q and W on minions and shoot them out to actually harass effectively. It looks like he's got the potential to do that.
Yeah,
I think he can win the lane that way.
Cooldown.
Yes, that's the problem. I mean, if you're gonna use W on a minion to harass, then you can't use it on a skirmish.
Well, his thick skin is perfect for taking harass and negating it.
Well, here's my opinion on him in bot lane. I think he'll be really strong versus other melees. They have to come in. Usually they have a gap closer. It'll allow him to get his stacks on them, and he's going to be great against burst because of his thick skin. I think that he's going to be really weak against any sort of range poke because all you have to do is poke, and then he only heals up for 20% of it, and you do that over, and you do it over, and you do it over. So I think he's going to be pretty strong against that. Not to mention most range champions have some sort of range stun. And melee range always beats melee as long as they can stay out of his range of his engage, which he doesn't have a very strong engage, like we mentioned. So I think he's going to be against something like a Zyra or an Annie or a Morgana. I think he's going to fail. I think if you put him against, I guess even against a Sona, especially against a Sona. But in terms of like a melee, I think he'll do fine against melee. I think he might even do really well against a melee, especially if you can. But the
problem is it's a 2v2 matchup down in bottom lane. It's not a support versus support matchup down there.
He's not. I know, but
I don't disagree with you. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I do think though that Tahm Kench he's going to have to change. If he's playing support, he's going to have to change his role as a support based on the matchup he's playing into. Because if you're playing into Ashe Leona or Lash Alistar, you're obviously now a protect the AD carry support where you need to eat your AD carry as they are, getting fully engaged on. Because any Ashe worth their salt's going to have, is going to try to kill you at 6, 7, or 8 with their arrow with an all in. But that said, I do find it very the only champ. I'm wavering just because I think any champion can all in the AD carry before Tahm Kench can make it to them and devour them to keep them alive.
I think that honestly your goal isn't to level 6 like duel. in bot lane. I think just with his, unless you're going to take the enemy, your ally jungler with you, and then you can. Honestly, I think that you can fight if it's before 6, or if like the Leona or whatever misses her stun. After that, if they have your stun, you have to be really careful. Just for all the reasons that you guys mentioned. Mm-hmm. But honestly, I don't see a reason that you don't roam with him. Like, everyone says how strong roaming supports are. In Challenger and Diamond right now, it's very common for Alistars or Annies or Morganas or anyone with like a strong CC to rush Mobies, buy 2 wards early, and go deep ward and then gank mid consistently. Like, that's pretty common in higher level support play right now. So if you can get through those levels and then you just go and you just help and bring your AD carry and you guys just gank mid and gank mid and gank mid, it's almost like having an obnoxious TF where like they're always bot. Like, this is your revenge for all of those TFs that you've ever had.
I like that idea.
Or those Pantheons. Right? Exactly.
Screw you, TF.
And then you can get back in time to save your turret. I don't think your intention is to fight. Like, you have to play it. It's not going to be a strong lane. He's not going to be a strong lane presence. He's going to be like a Braum or a Callista in lane where you just want to sit back, you want to farm, and you want to wait. And then, but he offers a ton of roam. He offers like rotations with him would be crazy. If you needed to pressure a tower and you wanted to have that extra pressure and you wanted to take your teammate back to do like dragon control, baron control. If you take bot tower, you know how sometimes like you'll take bot tower and then everyone will rotate mid and then they'll come back to dragon. Like, that whole situation just becomes a lot easier. I'm not saying he's gonna be incredibly strong, but there are, I think, ways to play around his kit. I like his kit honestly better than I like Bard's. I don't know. I feel like he'd be a better roamer than Bard is.
I look at him and I just think he does. If you want somebody that has lane presence, if you want somebody that is able to protect your AD carry very well, I think you might as well play Braum. Like, if that's your goal walking into lane, to do that. But that's what a lot of people are going to look at the kit and see. They're like, I can protect the AD carry. I can harass really hard. I can do this and do that. And like you're saying, that doesn't look like what his kit does well at all. I agree with you. He's roaming, but I got to keep it. I got to keep it real here. Keep it 100 because just the fact that I understand our listener base and I understand what our listener base is going to look at this like. We're saying roaming, but do they know how to roam? Do they know how to do that? Are they going to take that? Are they going to take advice you just said and actually be able to execute it?
Well, it's like Bard. Bard is seeing a lot of high level play right now. You don't see him plat or below, and that's because people aren't using his kit properly. There's a lot of champions like that where he's going to be successful in some areas and not in others. If you play him as like a really passive, I'm going to sit in lane and do nothing, you're not going to get anything out of it. Even if you try to like be really sneaky and you're coming back to lane and they're at your tower, so you're going to ult behind them and surprise them. You have nothing after that. Like, you have no real CC after that. So, like, you have to figure out what his kit is and work around it. Now, I don't know how... I'm not even saying it's going to be great, like, at high levels, but I see potential there to impact a map in a way that supports haven't been able to do since roaming Alistar was a thing. Roaming Taric back in, like, Season 1.
I really like Tahm Kench as a 2v1 support over the 2v2 duelist because of the reasons that you stated, like the fact that he's allowed to he could pull off the infamous Aphromoo harass at blue, eating people, or he can't eat blue, but you know what I'm saying, like he can harass really effectively between Q or W, whatever it may need to be, the same way that Aphro does with Thresh, and now he has the added mobility with that.
Yeah, and there are some AD carries. Like, I'm very confident if I got in a game with Punch, I could leave him if he was on Caitlyn or someone like that can farm under tower and be safe, that he could give Punches like, don't ever leave me. Don't ever leave me.
What are you doing?
There are, and that's why it's popular in like Diamond and Challenger to rush the Mobies and to go make ganks in mid and things like that, because there are ADCs that you can leave for a limited amount of time and then go make impact somewhere else. So, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. It depends a lot on a lot of things. There's a lot of things that need to happen with him, but
I agree with a lot what you say, especially the he doesn't really have an engage point that you made, and that's really going to hurt him against those sustain and poke comps, as you said. I'm still holding on to the hope that I think he could have some poke potential. I think it really comes down to what he's going to end up leveling first, and it looks like W because he gains a lot from it. But Q with the 6-second cooldown, that's a pretty short time for harass.
My concern with using Q is that it doesn't go through minions, and anytime you're not in minions, most champions have some sort in bot lane, have some sort of ability that can harm you, probably significantly more than his Q hurts them.
That goes for the same with W being a skill shot and all. But you can
Plus, his mana costs are pretty high.
Tongue Lash
look at
50
his mana
isn't that
costs.
high. Devour at
That's
90
not that
is
high
pretty
for bot lane.
Yeah, 90 is the only high one.
Right.
Devour 90, and then he's got the, what is his E? 50?
Yeah.
But that's only when you activate it.
I really don't think you're going to level Tongue Lash just because the cooldown doesn't go down with it.
Right.
Yeah, the stun goes
Right.
up, but you can just use Tongue Lash to pull minions and then shoot them at people if you want to harass, but more than likely you're going to be saving that to suck that Alistar in once he engages.
And
And I
if
think
you're
if
doing
you-
that, it's going to cost a lot of mana, too. If you use Q and W every time.
Right. I think if you take him support, then you take like attack speed reds, and then you take health yellows and armor quints. But then in your, I think in your blues, you run 3 MR, and then you run 6 of the CDR, the flat CDR. And if you do that and you get your 5% in masteries, you start off with 10%. And I think that would be essential. Like that would be really important because you can hit like level 3 W in lane, and then you're down to like, now you're down to like a 14.5 second. And that's not great, but it's in line with some of the other ones like Leona's, stuns and things like that.
Yeah, it makes it a little more manageable when it gets under 16 seconds.
Right.
I think that 14-second threshold is about the time where things become a little more manageable and a little bit more spammable. Plus, what's that perk down to Q down to like 5.2 seconds or something?
Yeah. And then if you think about it, if you do the strategy that like upper level supports are doing where you take the Mobies first and you roam, like you don't have to do that on him because he has his ultimate. So he'll have that mobility. So you could do things like you could rush your Sightstone like most supports do. And then you could get your... you could even get level 1 boots and then go ahead and get your... I can't think of what it's called. It builds out a ruby crystal and knock your... It builds into... What?
Kindle Gem?
Yes, because you're going to use it to get face of the mountain anyway. And then that ups another 10% off. And that's a really quick 850 gold. That's not anything too expensive.
Looking at the way Tahm Kench plays, we talked a lot about support. I was going to bring up the fact earlier that you could probably run him with 15% attack speed out of the top lane. Or even jungle. I could see jungle ganks coming from him being pretty devastating if he can land a Q. Because a lot of times there's followed up CC with that. You grab him, you walk him, like you said, you walk him the opposite direction. Even just turning around and spitting him out behind you, that's a character and a half, 2 characters that they have to walk extra to get away from you.
And it's really easy to get those auto attacks off if someone else already hasn't stunned.
Oh, are you looking forward to trying him in the top lane, Pwn?
I'm not looking forward to it. I think I'm looking forward to more of trying to play him in the jungle, if anything, because I think he'd be better off in the jungle, because right now, from looking at his kit, it doesn't look like it looks like he can trade well, but that's all it is. It's trading back off with his W. But then you're down 14 seconds of it's kind of like one of those outplaying. If the enemy knows how to outplay between your W cooldown, they're probably going to win that lane.
I was going to say I have reservations about his clear speed, but...
And that he has no way, if he gets pushed to the tower, he has no way to push the lane back. He has no way to farm under tower. And he isn't like Shen where he can, automatically join a fight at any point in time that he wants. Like, there's just little things about his top lane and lane presence that really, again, like you said, it gives me reservation that he won't play too well. Because, like, what happens if I'm playing into somebody like Aurelia, who it's a big spike around level 9, and I'm 9 at the same time, and I have to build max health, and she's just building Sheen procs, and, I can't get my 3 auto attacks off. She comes in, she hits me a couple times, slows me, walks out. How do I play into that?
Right.
Well, what's my counterplay options at that point?
Right, there's counterplay to him.
Nothing.
And
he's not equipped to deal with duelists.
Right.
I think even in the jungle, I think Punch was trying to get at, like, the clear speed in the jungle, I think would be rough. I don't know. I'm not a jungler, but it seems like...
I mean, he can use Devour to eat some of the big minions, but not the red buff or the blue buff.
Right.
Which is a big deal. He can go up to 500 damage against neutral monsters right now. So, I mean, that would be nice if you're going into Raptors, eat the big Raptor, and then, I guess, just punch down the small Raptors.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big a deal. Not being able to eat the big monster, really, I mean... Granted, he has to do a lot of auto attacking, and he probably has to go back after 3 clear. But as soon as he gets that jungle item, it's probably not too big of a deal. You can get rangers and just start eating people and pushing them through. Now, there's an argument here where you wouldn't get rangers, but I mean, like Rengars and whatnot are building it, even though it gives mana. It just gives that extra stun to clear the camp faster, so you gain levels faster, so you're ganking more often.
AoE damage.
Yeah, the AoE damage, the stun to allow you to get your stun off to follow it up so that you're not taking any damage from anybody. But it's just going to be that initial first 3 camp clear. But between his stun, he could start golems, go race, go to red, and I think you'd have enough life left to potentially go into the river and take a scuttle crab, if not gank right after that. I think it'd be low, and it would be based on the game, but more than likely he's going to be going back after those 3 camps.
He could eat the scuttle crab and then gank with it. Genius.
90% slow. Genius. I
do that with Secret and Scion. Use the scuttle crab.
That's enemy champions. Just enemy champions.
I thought it was everything, wasn't it?
No, just as enemy champions.
Oh, even better. I'm going to walk at you then.
Yeah.
Walk
at the scuttle crab at him.
I think an important thing to note with this champion, though, is if you're going to pick this champion out of any role, you should really make sure you have some sort of hard CC on your team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's really...
That's what I was thinking about. I really think he's being paired with an initiator. And I hope... I don't anticipate this happening, but I hope that there will be some Tahm Kench comps where you play some of the lesser-known junglers that have a hard time getting in. Someone like
That'd be
Skarner.
amazing.
If you can ult with the Skarner behind the enemy team... Skarner ult, and then Tahm Kench
Oh my gosh.
eats them after the Skarner ult. Like, all right, come on back.
Or you eat the Skarner and deliver him to the enemy team.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Yeah, because you
If they're
gain
playing
10%
extra
movement
cautious.
speed moving towards enemies.
Okay, I just watched it.
50% at max rank.
It takes Tahm Kench 1 to 1.5 seconds to pop up after he uses his ultimate. I'm giving
That includes travel time?
Yeah, but that's
That
about the
doesn't
same
include
as
travel
TF, I believe.
So that's the cast.
That is the
Arrival
yes,
animation.
like she said, that's the TF where you see the little image appear
Right.
around it and then he appears. Or his deck of cards fold out underneath his feet and then he appears.
So as noticeable as that is, or like Pantheon, you see the ring coming down. As much as you'd like to say, oh, that's a minute and a half, I can get it, or a second and a half, I can get out of that. There's just sometimes you're just not getting out of that. Especially if you're bringing in an initiator who generally has some sort of gap closer or hard CC. Like, and you slow with Q. I think it's a possibility. It could be strong with the right people.
I really do. I like that ult, the team play. It's encouraging with that ult. Plus, it's also encouraging him to roam. I think when Daze was talking about his ability, his roaming as a support, I think that's kind of where Riot's trying to put him. They messed with it a little bit with Bard, with the chime thing, and now they're like, all right, well, here's another way to encourage roaming, but differently. So
better than the chimes, better than walking away to go collect the
Which is funny because I think in the reveal they said he was initially being designed as a top lane champion, and then they just discovered along the way, you know what, he works better as a support.
Interesting.
We've got roaming support, guys. We did it. Good job.
Yeah.
So the single most important thing with him is that with his Master Chef skin, after it gets 2 stacks, he takes out cooking utensils and starts running at you with cooking utensils.
That's actually
Very
awesome
important.
and makes me want to pick up that skin just because.
Right?
Just to see that. I'm going to eat you. Well, it's also for the, I guess it could, let's say you play him jungle. Let's say he works in the jungle for whatever reason. It frees up your top laner from having to take teleport. If your jungle gets up there, ganks, and then takes the top laner to the dragon, for example, or back into civilization. I can see some kind of plays like that if you're top or jungle. Using that, I'll help give you a little bit more variety with the summoner spells, maybe.
Yeah, I see it being... I could definitely see something like that happen where you gank mid, pull the mid laner in. After they die, you pull the mid laner in with you and roll down the dragon real fast to take it or something. Or roll down the bottom lane. That'd be actually pretty badass if you were at red buff and grabbed the mid laner and took them on a ride with you into bottom lane.
I'm telling you, it could lead to some crazy ganks.
Backdoors, too.
Whether you're playing support or jungle. Like, you could either way, you could either gank mid, or you can roam, and, as a support you could roam mid, or as a jungler you could gank mid, and then just be like, alright, well, now we're going to head bot, so let's go.
Is his ult the key to getting people in solo queue to take the objectives you want?
Right? Right?
Let's say you want to take dragon. You just pop your
What? That's a good point.
open up your
They're gonna
maul, and they
just
can't
jump
resist.
in.
They have to
Right.
hop in. They can't resist. And then you just take
It's
them to
like
dragon. Like,
Cyber
oh, we're doing dragon now, guys.
This is where we're going. Now they'll get there and they'll be like, "Thanks for taking me to bottom lane. I want the farm."
And he goes,
It'd
and
be
they
cool
go in farm.
if enemies could take it by accident.
I have a
Oops.
feeling this would be some kind of
That'd be
bug
hilarious.
somewhere, right?
Into the fountain.
Yeah, I'm glad there's a skin for this champion that's decent because I hate his base model. I will say it. I
Yeah, I
cannot
don't like
stand
it
his base
either.
model. I think it's terrible.
I love it.
I hate his top hat. I think
the
he
top hat's
looks
awesome.
for a catfish. He looks like a fucking frog. That's the problem. He looks like a goddamn frog, and his
He's
W
a
long
He's a
tongue-
river monster.
Why
He's
is
a
his
goddamn
tail so-
catfish.
He's a monster.
He's a catfish.
He has hands and legs. He's not a catfish.
No,
He's a were catfish. Just because of
Were-cat
the
frog.
mustache.
Okay.
Were catfish frog. Maybe he's a hybrid.
He actually looks like
I think he's
Devour.
related to Gromp.
He might be.
Oh,
Grump
whatever.
and Fizz.
I
What's
feel
Fizz
like
then?
Riot's taking this really dark turn lately. It was Callista, you had to sell your soul to get revenge. This guy, some guy, promised away his betrothed so that he could find love or
crunching up
something.
bones
Like,
of,
and then
pride.
Tom comes and eats all of his family. Like, Riot's like all about making deals that end in serious death right now.
Do you people not realize he's a catfish? Because he's a goddamn catfish.
He's a catfish, but he's
With
weird.
teeth.
looking.
Catfish.
I'm
He's
thinking
very
people listen to this
catfish.
podcast are gonna go, "What? He's a catfish? He's from Louisiana. He's a catfish."
I don't think he's
Well,
in Louisiana.
if it's from Louisiana, everything in Louisiana is catfish, apparently.
Well,
It's
If he's a
fucking
catfish-
true.
If he's a catfish, he's going to be played support because he's a bottom dweller. Or he's going to feed because he's a bottom feeder. You know, either way.
You can only blame yourself for that one, Adam.
I just ignored him. Hey, we got 15 minutes left. Let's talk Runeglaive, shall we?
Okay.
Primarily, people want to talk
Good
about
stuff.
Runeglaive Ezreal. Here are my thoughts.
Yes.
That's my thoughts. You couldn't see it. If you listen to this podcast, you couldn't see it. My thoughts are, I see the both sides of the argument. I understand why you think it might be good, and I understand why it's terrible. I lean more toward the traditional Ezreal because I don't think, unless you are an amazing Ezreal player, that lack of summoner spell and having the Runeglaive is worth your time. Because most Ezreal players I see that would try this, that is not pro level or Diamond Plus or Platinum Plus, are probably just going to farm mid lane and then go, and just kind of walk around and wait for the next wave to come. A good Runeglaive Ezreal will use that 2200 gold spike with the extra damage and push out a lane while getting 8% AD back, use Smite to push out a lane, and then start roaming around and using his power spike that comes earlier. Before before it was Lichbane, right? Now it's 2200 gold for Runeglaive. You're going to use that power spike to influence the map in some way, either roaming or helping counter jungle, da. And that's why, like right now, that's the big hotness though, is Runeglaive Ezreal.
Does anybody else feel like this Runeglaive build is kind of a band-aid for maybe a lot of lower players? Where there's two big arguments here, or two points that people bring up as to why it's good. And one is, well, you can use Smite to help your last in a lane. Which, to me, just seems like a crutch.
You can pick up rangers and you
Right.
can help push the lane faster.
Right. I mean, Ezreal, you don't need Smite to last hit. That's something I did when I first picked up the game, right? Like, well, if I smite the minions, I can kill them faster. It's so hard to last hit. So it just seems like a crutch. And the mana you gain back seems like another crutch for just misusing your mana. Like, a lot of Ezreals use W unnecessarily, specifically 80 Ezreals, but I guess in this
Right.
case,
Using
80
it
Ezreals.
ever.
I mean, they're gonna probably be leveling up W anyways, so what the hell? But I mean, W is not. I mean, you can't just ignore the mana cost in that, especially when it's not doing any damage early on. So if you just keep throwing it out randomly, you're gonna run out of mana. That's all there is to it.
Right.
So I don't
I
think you
gotta
need to
bring
get this
up.
item. I think you just need to play better.
I
in
agree
certain
with you,
scenarios.
and I'm going to bring this up because I wanted to bring it up before. I can't even say your name. There's a listener in chat who had brought this up. And it's true. Yes, Q does. If you have Runeglaive, Q is now turned into magic damage. Thus, it procs Luden's Echo. That's why it's good, because it's just giant pieces of burst damage. But if you ever use the argument with me, well, Challenger players do it. Challenger players hit their skill shots. Like they make skill shots happen. Like they miss significantly less skill shots against better opponents than most of us do out there. So when you use that argument against me, I go, okay, I can see why it's really good, but you actually have to be able to hit that skill shot and know when that passive is up to make it worth your time. And that's kind of like the reason I preached against top smite for a while there too. Because without understanding how to use challenging smite and all that very well, I don't think you were getting enough out of the power spike at whatever level you were at. If you're below Diamond 1, I don't think you're probably getting enough out of that power spike at this point in time.
So is that to say that Lichbane doesn't proc Ludens? Because, I mean, look, if you're comparing stats, Lichbane's just a superior item. And it does do magic damage. The passive stack, the passive that procs on Ezreal's Q does do magic damage.
Right. It would
so that should proc Ludens as well.
Yeah.
It just means Luden, you get Luden. All it is it's cheaper. So
you get Ludens
faster.
Because yeah, Runeglaive is cheaper. I can see that.
It helps with his power. Like he has a weird power curve, and it helps with him. Like he's traditionally only good at like 6 items, so it helps you get
best 6 item in the game for sure.
Yeah, it helps you. It just helps you. You get a little power spike mid game if you use it properly. And we're not telling you, okay, you saw something in Challenger, but don't bother. You're not good enough. We're telling you that there are other basics that you need to focus on before you try to do the exact same thing the Challenger players is doing. Challenger players have also done top smite. You don't see that anymore. They've done support smite. You don't see that anymore. Like, they do and play around, and they can get away with things that the rest of us could never get away with because they're a million times better at this game than we are. And so, yeah, I mean, there's some merit to it, and at the same time, you have to take a step back, and because there's a good chance that in a couple weeks you won't see it anymore because there's a better option for it, or it's not as good as they thought because people just aren't running top smite nearly as much as they were when that first came out either.
So many mad people in chat. I love it. We make one.
Oh yeah,
people go fucking nuts here.
I made them real mad. I'm sorry, chat.
Sorry, chat. You're right. Ludens is
Ludens is not proc of Lichbane. So there you go.
I don't know though.
Still procs off the W.
Runeglaive and what's that? Essence Reaver. Put those two together. Never run out of mana, man.
Well, Runeglaive only works if it hits minions or monsters. It doesn't work if it hits champions.
DeClawd, please.
I'm all on the I'm all on the side of you shouldn't be using your poor mana management as a reason to buy an item, and that's on every champion for every item. Like if your champion demands it, that's fine. But people were playing Ezreal a long time before Runeglaive came out. So if you're having that much problems with mana management, you need to concentrate on other things. If this is the thing because it's tried and it's tested and it's true and that, that's completely different. But right now, people just jumped all of a sudden on the bandwagon because who was it? Faker did it?
Oh, and it's like, no, I don't even know if it's Faker.
I know Bjergsen did it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's an NA.
Okay, so then just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons and that you're able to take advantage of it. Because if you're not hitting 75-80% of your Qs, then the item really isn't doing you a lot of good. And the other thing you have to worry about is that you are short a summoner spell. Mm-hmm. And that's a big deal. Like, there are 2 summoner spells for a reason. So, I mean, if you want to get rid of a summoner spell, you can start taking Clarity or something, and nobody would ever do that. So just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you know the benefits and the consequences. Then make sure that you know that there are gonna be times that you're gonna die to ganks because you don't have heal, or you're not gonna get a kill because you don't have ignite, or all these other things that happen when you take smite out of that lane.
Yeah, Ezreal's actually very weak early. Very prone to getting all in early because he has that smite instead of a barrier or ignite to counter all in somebody.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, the only giant reservation I have is the fact that you don't properly gain mana back on Runeglaive unless you're attacking, monsters, right? So you have to use it for that giant power. You have to use it for that spike faster because 2,200 gold comes quicker than the Lichbane, which is what, 3,200 gold, if I remember correctly. 2,800 gold still comes more quickly.
Yeah.
So somebody Google that for me. I just know it comes more quickly. So you have to use your power spike in lane. You have to snowball that power spike into Ludens because converting it to magic damage allows like Rylai's and Ludens to hit. And my only other reservation is the fact that you don't have a summoner spell, so if you're not able to take advantage of that mid-game power spike, or early/mid-game power spike, however you want to look at it, that you're without a summoner spell later in the game. And what summoner spell is going to help you at any point in time, or what smite is going to actually help you if somebody's barreling down on top of you.
But you do have it for a better objective control.
And make sure that
objective control argument, because fucking people don't do that. I've had 3 smites in a game, and I've lost barons because of it. Like,
wow,
because people don't pay attention. They're like, my jungler has this, even though I have a smite, because no one talks, right?
Right. You got to talk and say, okay, at 2,000, smite it, and it'll be dead. For example.
The other thing you need to do is if you're gonna, and this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Runeglaive as much as it does anytime you're gonna emulate something that you see someone else doing. Don't just emulate what they're doing, but like what they're buying, but you have to know what they're doing with it once they get it. So if you're going to watch Bjergsen play Runeglaive Ezreal, then you better watch as soon as he gets back to lane how he utilizes that, how he abuses that power spike, and that whole process. Because if not, then you're getting an item for no reason, and it's not really doing you much good.
If you're just going to sit back and farm, you might as well get a better item.
You might as well spend that gold and go. You might as well spend the gold and go Sheen tier. Honestly, if you want mana regen and you want damage, you might as well go Sheen and tier. If you don't understand to use that spike and why you're using it, and you don't understand. I don't know. I have so many reservations, so many things I could yell at people, and everyone's yelling at me. I feel like this entire conversation of being yelled at the entire time while why I'm wrong, and I know I'm not wrong. So y'all, you can take that how you will. It's just that there's too many players out there that will scream why it's good, but not tell me how to properly utilize it in a game.
Well, I haven't messed with it yet, but I do want to mess with it, like on Diana, champions that it should be good on in the jungle, etc. So
yeah, it's new and people are excited about it, so I can't blame them for being enthusiastic. They're trying to rationale, like, hey, this seems like it could be good, and it does a lot of good strategies to it.
You never know. Honestly, maybe you'll find something that works great.
Honestly, anything that gets you excited about the game is a good thing. Like at the end of the day. Yep. That's a good thing, and it's going to help you grow, and it's going to help you get farther.
I do mourn the damage, the AP, and the cooldown on the Magus, though. Even though I didn't.
I miss Magus because I just started playing AP Fiddlesticks, or rather, I should say Jungle Fiddlesticks, right before Runeglaive came out, and now I play Jungle Fiddlesticks after the fact, and he is significantly weaker without Magus.
You got to go Amp Tome to Seekers or something.
Yeah, there's really no reason to buy a jungle item on him at all anymore. It's just not even starting with Stalker's Blade.
I do think they'll address that, because they'd mentioned that they're keeping a close eye on Fiddlesticks after this new item, because they don't want him to be left in the dust. So
I don't think he'll be left in the dust. I think he'll still be played, because I can make work of him. There's just significant power spikes after 6 where I would have done a little bit more damage. That didn't happen because I didn't have that Magus. Or excuse me, rolling into like level 7 and 8. It's so loud and furious, Days.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Someone said that the early game is so bad on Ezreal, but he transitions easier. The thing to remember, though, is that he only transitions easier if you don't fall behind early, which is a problem a lot of Ezreals have.
And you're more succumb to falling behind early with this build, because you're sitting on Smite. That's not going to help you early.
Right, exactly. You have Smite, you don't have your heal, or you don't have whatever other champion that you have. So that's really what you need to focus on in terms of, if you're going to do this, you got to make sure you play super safe. You got to farm. You got to really, that item should be your goal. Like in lane, you want to farm as fast as possible, and you want to get it as fast as possible. That way you have some sort of leverage in lane.
That's what I was going to ask. If you do go Smite Ezreal, do you rush it first? You get it before a pickaxe, or I'm sorry, you're doing AP Ezreal.
Yeah,
before
you're
any
rushing
other.
It.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to rush it. That's where your power spike comes in.
Right.
That you're getting that sheen. You're using that sheen. I mean, you already had a sheen power spike before you went to lane. It's just the difference is that the power spike after sheen, the next buy is larger than the buy if you were going for Lichbane, because you're going to complete that smite before you're going to complete Lichbane.
Yeah.
So there's that windows there, and then it allows him to be, 500-600 gold ahead or whatever it may be, and use that gold to transition into Luden's Echo, and then he can use that Luden's Echo to start snowball the game even harder. That's the power spikes here. He just gets the power spikes a little earlier than he previously did. But if he's not utilizing the move speed to get the Looted Echo procs type of thing, he's not utilizing those power spikes properly. And I think that's what we're preaching here, is that you need to be aware of why and how you're doing it, and what it's going to give you, and how you're going to abuse what it is giving you. And I think that's what that's pretty much every time we talk about something new is let's talk about why it happens, how it happens, and so that you can make your own decision of when it's good.
Right, and to clarify, you don't lose a summoner all game long, because I think most Ezreals take challenging smite, right?
Well,
the one that does damage to
challenging
champions.
smite's 20% damage reduction. But let's be fair, if you're caught as Ezreal,
So,
you're probably
But it also
dead
does. But it also does damage to the enemy champion. But the thing is that the problem is that you're more likely to fall behind early because you don't have a summoner spell early. That's where the summoner spell becomes so important. Is that before you go back and get this item, you don't have anything to help you out in lane. So it's not that you that's what it's about. Is that early game you're more likely to fall behind than if you didn't go for this item.
What do you usually take as mid AP Ezreal as your second summoner? Flash and what?
You do heal,
I think it
you do
depends
barrier.
which.
Healer barrier.
Barrier?
Yeah.
Probably barrier.
What
Okay.
lane up? What matchup you're against? They're
be
usually
ignited when a
defensive
stale one.
oriented.
Okay.
Spork, I'm going to tell you right now that if you're Ezreal and you get caught, you're dead. Late game, you don't have time to blink out of anything. You don't have time to challenging shout anybody. That's the problem. It does 20 math doesn't fucking matter when it's your level 18 and you get stunned for 14 seconds. It's 14. If you get Tahm Kench W'd, then you pop out and everybody dog piles right on top of you. If they're good enough players, you're dead. If you get caught, you're dead. The problem isn't challenging smite doing 20% less damage. It's 20% less damage whoever you smite. And who is that going to be? The Mundo running at you? Now you've been zoned out of the fight and you don't really do as much as you did before. And you can't kill the Mundo.
Morgana binding is 14 seconds.
Yeah, and a Morgana card, he feels like 14 seconds. A Thresh Q on you. You're not going to be, unless you have like godlike reactions, you're not Eing out of that in time. Like, there's so many little things in this game where challenging smite does not matter when you have 1800 HP and zero
What's the
resist.
range on that too? Because a lot of times, like if you get within range to use a smite, then you're in range of being stunned or killed. Because I think the range was only like 850, wasn't it? I don't remember.
Of what?
Smite?
For challenging smite, yeah. The range is 500. The range is 500. If you're in 500 range of anyone as a squishy late, yeah, exactly. OGs. That's all. That's all. We're done talking about it. OGs.
No, whatever.
I think that covers it.
We'll just leave it there. Withers.
I'm intrigued. I want to see that Bjerg game. I want to see what he did.
I think he was playing it more than just one game. It was like they played it. Then there were some people on Twitter. They were touting the how powerful it is, and I really don't disagree that it isn't powerful. I just don't think that the majority of players are going to be able to play it well enough to pull it off.
Right. So practice it before you take it into solo queue, or if you want to do it really bad.
This is the problem about when
don't expect it to be an auto win.
This is the problem when you are me and you've cried wolf one time before this, or you have said something's bad and it actually wasn't. As soon as you say anything else is air quotes bad, you get fucking yelled at for it and then chastised, and then you're like, well, sorry that I voiced my opinion.
People just like arguing with you.
That's all right. I like it too. Yeah, I think that's it. You guys can enjoy that. I hope you agree or disagree with Ezreal. Yeah, chew on it. Send us emails. Tell me why I'm wrong, and then I'll just continue to tell you why you're wrong. I'll say go listen to episode 272. No,
mess with it, and make your own decision on it. But be warned.
Yeah, but again, we're not discouraging you from trying it out. Just you have to know it's more important for you to know the downsides of it than for you to just like jump in and be like, oh, well, this is so awesome. I need to do this right away.
Right.
And the upsides. I mean, again,
yeah, absolutely.
you get an earlier power spike, but you should take advantage of that. If you're gonna get it and then not take advantage of the power spike that you're getting earlier, as opposed to a more expensive item, then why not just save for the more expensive item?
That's it.
Because that's not
Decision
what the
making.
players did. No. All right, I think that's it. I think I'm going to call it right there. That's episode number 273 of the podcast. So, guys, if you want to check us out, go ahead and go out to trinityforcenetwork.com. And check out everything else we have to offer. There's the Ozellwell podcast. Those guys post 1 day a week. There's the LCS Rundown, which gives you a recap of the NA and EU LCS. T-Force Proper goes live twice a week. Man, this is why I got beer burps again. Twice a week, going with proper discussion. We got the 4 awards for anybody who's brand new at this game and wants to learn how to be better and understand what we're talking about and understand why we have all these reservations when it comes to some of the different builds out there, as well as Sheen Procs, which is our professional level NA interview series that we've been doing. When every time those guys can get out there, they post on there. And then everything goes out on YouTube, youtube.com/T-Force podcast. That's pretty much it. I mean, we have a couple other things out there like the Champion Selects, but you gotta get in there and get an Elite Club to get into that.
Patreon.
You gotta have the membership card.
Yeah, you
Find
gotta
us
get the
on
membership
Patreon.
card. Get the membership card at patreon.com/T-Force Network. Guys, that is episode number 272 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you so much for listening to us. And let us know. Let us know what you think about this episode. Let us know feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. If you think we are totally off base about Ezreal and you want to argue with us, do it.
It's discussion. It's podcast material. We love it.
That's right. We'll be back
Bring it.
Wednesday to talk about this again, guys. Thanks again. See you.
Bye, guys.